4 practical steps that you could take today that would help you fight for your families, fight for your wives and husbands, fight for your kids. Can I just do that quickly? Give you 4 practical steps. The first one is far and away the most important. Here's the first one. Become a follower of Jesus. Become a follower of Jesus. That's the first step. You say, well, I'm already a Christian. Yeah, right, I get that. I'm not asking you to be a Christian. I'm asking you to become a follower. Churches are full of Christians. But Jesus, in the Great Commission, he didn't say, go and make Christians. He said, go and make disciples. Disciples are followers. A follower is somebody that's all in. I'm all in, and my family knows I'm all in when it comes to following Jesus. So that's the first step you can take. Become a follower of Jesus. Second step, learn to love. Learn to love. That's 1 Corinthians 13. I don't know if you've ever read that chapter. You should, if you read it every day for a month, it would really change your life. But just before 1 Corinthians 13, there's a little line. Now, Paul's been talking about spiritual gifts. And then you get this little line where he says, and now let me show you a better way. Love is something you can show someone. Paul's not going to talk about emotion and feeling and romance, and I'm sure that's all there, but he's going to push this real deep to a way of acting and behaving towards each other, and he's going to say, that's love. You can show somebody what love is. Love is patient. Love is kind. Doesn't keep a record of wrongs. It's not self-centered. Doesn't envy, doesn't boast. It's self-controlled, and it always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Learn to love. Here's the third thing that you can do to fight for your families. What was the first thing? Become a follower. Second thing, learn to love. Third thing would be this. Look for defining moments because they're better than teachable moments. Defining moments are better than teachable moments. I'm not saying teachable moments aren't good. Ask God to give you wisdom to know when there's a defining moment that you can live into because it'll change and form the trajectory of your kids' lives. You know, my own life, Ginny and I were first married, and we had friends that were a bit older than us, Mick and Jackie McLeod. And Mick worked for my dad. Mick had needed work. And my dad hired him, made him an associate manager. My dad was so kind to them. They were good friends, Mick and Jackie, my mom and dad, us. The day came when Mick McLeod, he put a knife in my dad's back, got him fired, and then took over my dad's job. I was devastated. I could not believe how somebody could do that. We were angry as a family. We were just newly married. We'd invited Mick and Jackie to our wedding. And when we got together with my parents, we were going at it. My dad, he just smiled. He didn't ever say one bad thing about Mick McLeod, nothing. He didn't want to get back at him, get even with him. He just said, God will provide for us. And he just prayed for him. And that bothered me, but he never said a bad word about Mick McLeod. That was 1978. Fast forward to 2003. We're here. A lot of water's passed under the bridge. I haven't even thought about Mick and Jackie. It's long gone. Ginny and I leave Red Deer and we're going down to a mall in Calgary to shop. And don't let your imaginations run too wild, but I go into a washroom, standing where men stand. And I just went like this. It was Mick McLeod standing right there. You talk about awkward. Hadn't seen him since I hated him. And we're washing our hands, said, Mick, it's Dan. And my heart just raised up, not in anger, but in love. I said, Mick, is Jackie here? She's waiting out there. We went out and talked. I said, Mick, it's so good to see you. I've missed you. And I just want to stay connected. And I thought, what happened? You know what happened? My dad's attitude in 1978 shaped me and formed me. So when I saw Mick again, I actually loved him. Now here's the fourth thing, just quickly. Don't forsake, neglect the house of the Lord. Don't forget the house of the Lord. All of Scripture assumes that followers of Jesus will gather together in person. I get that some people have to live stream because they're in other places. Well, if you're in Red Deer and you're not sick, you need to be here. To live stream when you could be here is like a soldier that's deployed somewhere and is Zooming with his wife. Like, it's necessary, I guess, but it's not that great. In Scripture, Matthew 18, even when 2 or 3 of you come together, Jesus says, I'm in the middle. 1 Corinthians 11, when you come together to take the Lord's Supper. Hebrews 10, don't neglect, forsake the assembling of yourselves together. I grew up in a home where we never once asked the question of our parents, are we going to church today? We didn't have to, it was assumed. You didn't ask that question. If your kids are asking you on a Sunday morning, are we going to go to church today? That should be a huge warning light to you that something's wrong. They shouldn't have to ask that question. You know what? I know this is nuts in Alberta. This is what I believe. I believe being in the presence of Jesus with his people is more important than playing hockey. I believe that. I believe being in the presence of Jesus with his people is more important than anything else you could do if you can get here. Because we get to be in the presence of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Listen, you sow a hockey player, you know what you're going to get? A hockey player. You sow into your children and grandchildren the things of God, you know what you're going to get? Men and women after God's own heart.